Howdy, all you delicious people. Today I'm here to talk to you about season 2, episode 3. Everybody's getting confused because I had the 3 up. We're talking about episode 3 and who I could possibly think is the singers for these 4 characters that sang tonight. And of course, one character did get unmasked, which was the Eagle. And I'm going to tell you honestly who I thought the Eagle was, and if I was right or wrong. Last week, when I picked who was the panda, go ahead and check that episode out if you haven't caught up yet. Maybe you just watched the first episode and then you're going to come back and whatever and kind of watch all the way through. I'm going to do recaps for you just so you know if you missed anything. I will recap at the end of this. But if you want to watch the first episode, second episode, and third episode to kind of catch up, and you don't want to know spoilers, I'm going to make it abundantly clear as a double 5 count. And then we'll go into spoilers of who the person was who was the Eagle tonight. And then basically we'll also do a season so far recap. Really going through and telling you, like, okay, this is who has gotten unmasked so far, and my thoughts on who has gotten unmasked so far. This season, I thought was gonna be just as easy as the first season. Like, I thought, like, the first season, man, was the first season really easy. You could really pick out a lot of people quickly and easily and whatever. This one took a lot of time to ponder who these people were. If I didn't know the voices right away, I wasn't probably gonna know them at all. Or until like the last ditch effort of knowing who it was, which will come up a lot. So yeah, hence why I think episode 2 it took me forever to put out, because I was like, without it, I have no clue. For this episode, I think I got a little bit closer to who might be these people. But again, it might just be a random bag of something. A random bag of like, well, this person sounds generically like any person that has ever sang ever, and I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. If the clues weren't super vague or like super unrelevant to whatever the person is, then like I would just be like, oh, okay, I can clearly say it's this person. The clues this season 100% make no sense. If anything, it's random things here and there that you pick up on, and it's just like, but who freaking knows if that's legitimately um what it is. It's no clue this season. You're just grasping at straws, just be like, well, this whole entire clue is about football or motorcycle riding, and I don't know, I don't know motorcycle riders, professional ones or whatever. Like, I don't know a lot of football players that sing on the side or something. It's just really confusing. It's really baffling, and it's really just like, who the heck are these people? Um, so yeah, like the clues are just like really, really bad this season, and it's throwing so many people off. Um, because yeah, you have so many people, and they all sound like anybody you could ever hear and sound and whatever, and then the clues are like zero help. So it just like this season is so hard. It's so difficult. So let's get into who I think is who. If anything, we had, of course, the eagle, the flower, the penguin, and the fox singing tonight. As per usual, I'm just going to dive right into who I think the singers are. First off, the flower. Really a pretty good voice. Um there was a clue in there where the clue said what's love got to do with it, and right away I was thinking, I'm like, well, that's a Tina Turner song. Like, why is this person saying what's love got to do with it? And I'm confused. And so like immediately I was thinking like Tina Turner, but my family members, my mom and my dad were just like, "Oh yeah, it's Patti LaBelle." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess that could make sense." Like I haven't heard Patti LaBelle in a very long while, so like I was very like unsure because I'm like, like, but she said, "What's love got to do with it?" I'm like, that's a Tina Turner song, unless it's just throwing somebody off the scent. Um, like I would like to assume that it's Tina Turner for once because I don't know how many freaking times somebody whoever would sing on here and sing on here really good, they would always say it's Tina Turner, it's Tina Turner. But funny enough, this time around, no one said Tina Turner. Everyone said even like Patti LaBelle or somebody else that's randomly out there somewhere. And like I can't help but think it's either Tina Turner or Patti LaBelle. At the end of the day, I try as much as possible to really say one person to really cement that it's like okay, like I'm thinking it's one person, but you always want to keep your bases covered to say two people just in case you're wrong twice and then you look really silly. But I'm probably assuming it's Patti LaBelle on here, but I don't know. What's love got to do with it kind of really bugged me. So at the end of the day, it's just, I guess we're going with Patti LaBelle, but I don't know. Weirdly enough, like I'm just strangely just thinking Tina Turner for once. I don't know why, but it just is there. It's just there. What's love got to do with it? Why? Why do they had to? Why do they have to put that in there as a clue when? Yeah, I could be right or I could be wrong, but that's how strongly I feel about that one clue. Where like when you had Rottweiler say it's not over, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a Daughtry song, and you have so and so people kind of who are actual musicians kind of reference their songs in their clues. It's just kind of like, oh okay, well like then there has to be some kind of reference of legitimately like somebody like referencing their songs in the clues. So yeah, it's just yeah. Moving on. The Eagle I thought was Al Roker or Howard Stern. At the end of the episode, you will legitimately know who the Eagle was. I just like I've heard Al Roker actually sing before, and he actually really sings really well. And of course, Health Scare. Immediately, I was thinking like, well, Al Roker had, maybe not recently, but he had a Health Scare where it was just kind of like, okay, he had to uh, do like lap band surgery and all kinds of stuff to get thinner and whatever. So I maybe just assumed it was that. Howard Stern. Um, was really like somebody like brought it up and I was like, yeah, that does make sense because like I've seen like I've kind of heard somewhere like Howard kind of sing at some points and yeah, it does maybe sound close close to something like that. I don't know. Yeah, so like I was thinking maybe Howard Stern or Al Roker, but I was probably thinking more Al Roker because I'm like, man, that guy like Howard Stern is really tall. Like I don't think the eagle like is really tall, so I was thinking maybe Al Roker because that's like probably what he sounded like. But I was like, man, like there's like I have no clue for the eagle. There's a lot of just like broadcasting stuff and a lot of like there's a whole lot of like things in there where I was just kind of like, huh? I'm like, I have no clue. I have no clue because this could sound honestly like almost anybody. Like anybody could almost sound like this, but like if it probably would have like that's the thing. Like a lot for singing, like anybody can sound like anyone for anybody. But like once it gets down to like a rap or something like that, where the person has to like actually legitimately like say some things, then you can just like, oh my god, it's so and so person. Like, um, how I guess the panda was legitimately by hearing her for a second time and hearing this person for a second time, and I could assess who it was. Um, but yeah, the eagle. I will show you who is under the eagle head at the end of this episode. After I guess who all the people were, who I guessed while the show was going on, who I thought the people were. Moving on. The fox. Ironically, I honestly assumed it was Jamie Foxx. Now, a lot of people could just be like, isn't that a little on the nose? Like, this guy is a fox and it's Jamie Foxx. Isn't that a little like, come on? But and one of the judges even like mentioned that too. It's like maybe it is Jamie Foxx. Here is the clues. This character plays a superhero during the day. Jamie Foxx currently, if you did not know or realize, is playing a show called Beat Shazam, which Shazam is a DC comic book superhero. So when it comes down to it, maybe that is what the reference is. Maybe he's trying to promote his Beat the Shazam show on The Masked Singer. Like there's been several people that have done shows outside of this, and I can't help but think that maybe this is quite possibly Jamie Foxx. I could be wrong. I could be way off on this, but like there's people that are assuming that this could probably be the guy who plays Falcon on the Avengers movies, and I'm like, why would he want to go on to the like this guy's making so much money and he's starting a show with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, why would he go and do this show? Like, he's doing other things like Black Mirror and stuff like that. Like, why would he spend the time doing this show? But I think maybe for Jamie Foxx, this is a jump, skip, and a hop to go on here and do this show as well as beat Shazam. Because sadly enough, it's like Jamie's just like doing shows. That's all he's doing. So, yeah, we have one more. One more. We have to guess who the penguin is. And at the end of the day, I don't know who else to pick besides Jamie Foxx for the fox. Again, that's really on the nose. But I guess you would never assume that a fox would be under the fox. And yeah. But again, we'll have to eventually see, the more we hear these people, who we think these people are. If anything, a lot of these assessments did not honestly come from the judges, if I honestly said so. Like this Jamie Foxx, when I came up with that assessment before somebody like actually mentioned like, well, what if it is Jamie Foxx? And it's like, well, yeah, like he's on Beat Shazam. Shazam's a superhero technically, not the show that he plays on, but yeah, in all technicality, it is. So yeah, it's just, it makes sense. So yeah, it's just, with that, it makes sense. It makes sense. So moving on, the penguin. For this one, I have no freaking clue. If anything, Michelle Kwan for some reason came up. My mom was picking Michelle Michelle Kwan. I'm like, I don't even know who that like is besides her being an ice skater. I've never heard her sing in my life. So yeah. I don't know. But this person actually sounds like she has some kind of singing background of some kind. Um I kind of knew ultimately that the penguin was gonna go further on because there is like this penguin I'm assuming does sing again, and I think Robin Thicke at some point questioned it being Raven Simone. So yeah, like I would assume it probably would be Raven Simone too. I kind of before coming on here and before ending the show, I was thinking because there's some promo package with the Penguin and they were guessing maybe Raven Simone, and I was thinking I'm like, well, like supposedly like that's so Raven like the show like ended and then like where did Simone really go? Nowhere. So why not have her on the show? Because it's not like she's really, um, sadly, doing anything. But she does. She has tried to do a lot of singing. I know in 2006 she's tried to do an album and things like that. But yeah, hopefully maybe this could get her back on the good side of whatever and get her going again. Um, but yeah, Raven Simone, that's I guess who I would pick is probably the Penguin. Just a shot in the dark. Um, because I heard her sing on some things, but I don't know. Like from year to year to year, she has a different sounding voice. Like sometimes she comes off raspy, and then sometimes she comes off like anybody else. So it's kind of hard to really define like from year to year to year what legitimately she sounds like. So if anything, if the penguin goes on here again and sounds completely different than she did before, then maybe I might be able to narrow it down more. But yeah, the raspiness of probably what when she performed in like 2016, there was like a raspiness to the penguin. So it's like, man, like this show is just like shots in the dark. Um, really shots in the dark. So yeah, it's fascinating to just like pull things out of the air and just be like, well, yeah, I had to forcibly go on YouTube and watch somebody sing, just maybe like reassess something. It's bizarre. This show that kind of gets you out of a weird and like interesting way of just like, hey, yeah, I've watched on YouTube. I've watched people like all kinds of celebrities like sing all the time, and it'll be interesting to see when these people get unmasked to just be like, God, I was way off. Because I feel like this season, this whole season, it's gonna be like the greatest guessing game you've ever played. And I'm probably nowhere close to being right. Because 1 out of 3 times I was correct so far in the season. And in the first season, like I was like getting them all like pretty good. Like I was immediately thinking like, well, maybe it's like this person, maybe it's that person, and like every mass singer was like, man, I'm picking them awesome. Like this season, like I'm really picking them, like I'm really getting them good, and like this season, it's really just throwing darts at a Google search. Really, it's just kind of like, hey, has this person ever sang before? Let's Google search and see if let's YouTube search and see if like they've ever had a song before. I think it was kind of bizarre that one of the choices was like Kathy Griffin, and I think that was for the Penguin. And I'm like, no, like I like look it up on YouTube. Legitimately, I there's a Kathy Griffin thing where Kathy Griffin did a song once and doesn't sound anything like this. So yeah, I don't know. I would rather really much more assess that it's the tree that I think is Kathy Griffin rather than the penguin. If anything, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. when these people get unmasked in the future. So now here come the spoilers. The eagle got unmasked. In fact, we had a battle it out between the penguin and the eagle, and the penguin won. So it was a bird against bird fight. Because of course, the other two, the flower and the fox, were just really, really good singers, and like these were probably just as good singers as well, but it was just like, it was tough this episode. It was really tough to really kind of just like, who do you think should be like the one that's like not going home this? I don't know. There's some stiff competition every episode. Yeah, there's some people that clearly just can't, like, they got to work with what they can work with, but yeah, it's, I don't know. We'll see. But if anything, you guys are gonna get a double five and get spoilers on who the eagle is. So if you don't want to know who the eagle is, click off now, and eventually I will do a recap where if you guys don't want to know what's all going on in the entire show, I'll do a double five count again, and then we'll go into a whole recap of what's going on. So now, if you don't want to get spoiled on who the eagle is, click off now. But I am going to spoil and click to now, showing you who the eagle is now. So the eagle was Dr. Drew Pinsky, which I hope I'm saying that name less. If anything, I always knew him as Dr. Drew. I honestly would watch a lot of the like celebrity therapy shows, the celebrity rehab shows, and what have you. And maybe every once in a while I would catch him, Dr. Drew, on MTV. He would kind of have these like love sessions where he talk about love and stuff like that, usually with a co-host or something like that on MTV late at night. But sadly, I wasn't thinking it at all. It was Dr. Drew, because it's been a while since I've seen him. Um, Evidently, Dr. Drew worked with Ken Jeong, and he worked with Melissa McCarthy, Wahlberg. He worked with them, and like, if anything, like Melissa McCarthy was getting close to figuring out that it was Dr. Drew, and he like pointed at her. He was like, "Oh, you were so close. You were so close. But you weren't thinking it was me." It's like, well, no. It's like, man, like, because if anything, like, the hard part of it is people need to hear your voice, and like the sound on this season is vastly different than I think in the first season. Like in the first season, like you could clearly hear everything. This season, I think like the sound is muffled or changed or something. You can't clearly hear the artist in this season. I think probably at some points for some singers, like the sound is good or bad based on their costume, um, but yeah, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And there's probably like an actual legitimate, like maybe microphone probably in the mask, so that way it amplifies like what they're singing. But like I didn't think it was Dr. Drew at all, because it's been such a long time since I've seen like a celebrity rehab or something like that was on like VH1 or MTV or something like that. It's been a long time. I respect Dr. Drew's work, and I respect what he does, but I just didn't realize it was him at all, because there were so many things throwing me off that trail. If there was at any point that could have been any reference of him talking about like a celebrity therapy or something like that, being a doctor of some kind, then it would have been like, oh, okay, but all of that stuff was just like a random bag of whatever. And even his clues were just kind of like, I don't know who this is. I have no clue who this is. It's just like that's just the like I had no clue. So is Dr. Drew Pinsky, a doctor, radio host, and TV personality. Sadly enough, I guess this would be 4-1, because I had no clue who the people were in the pilot episode. In the second episode, I picked correctly, but in this episode, I had no freaking clue. I had no clue. I was thinking Al Roker because sounds like Al Roker, but I was wrong. I was wrong. But I think I'm gonna be wrong all season long, for the most point. So yeah. Um, I think in the first pilot episode, I talked about who I picked right and who I was right on the money with. For season one, I was pretty much like, with the exception of maybe a few here and there, like maybe one or two or something. I basically like the lion was very difficult to pick. The peacock was very difficult to pick, but I think everything else was just kind of like really lined up and I could figure out who it all was. But this season, um like they're really digging deep and finding people um that haven't been around for a while, or kind of have like aren't the normal people that they picked in the first season. So it's just kind of like, oh hey, here's a YouTuber or ice skater or this or that, and it's like, what? Like now I have to figure like everybody in the world could be on the show. Like before, like I was thinking like most of the people were actual like singers in the first season, or just kind of TV personalities, and that was probably much easier to find and figure out and whatever. And occasionally you probably have like a movie star here and there or something like that. But like in this season, they're really digging deep and trying to find everyone to really throw everyone off the trail. Um, because this season it's going to be a giant guessing game of who the heck anybody is. So yeah, this season again, I can't cement more that this this season is going to be freaking difficult. So yeah. So now that you know it's Dr. Drew, and man, was Dr. Drew a really good singer? Yeah, would have thought. We're gonna have Obama on the Masked Singer eventually. That would be like that would blow people's minds. Like, oh my God, it's Obama! But yeah, because freaking like I was almost thinking like, man, is this Obama? Because like, man, has a really good like singing voice, and like Obama sang some stuff every once in a while he was in his presidency, and I'm like, man, like Dr. Drew sounded really good. He sounded really good. But sure enough, he's a radio host. Why wouldn't he sound good on the mic? But yeah. Um. Anyways, now we are going to do a season recap so far of who had gotten unmasked, my final thoughts and whatever about the show going so far, and what have you. So, in a double five, we are going to tell you so far, if you do not want to know who the people were unmasked in the pilot episode or season two, or too late on this one, but if you don't want to get spoilered, now is the time to click off now, so that way I can recap everything and tell you by far what's all going on throughout the whole season. So now, cut off time. So far, this evidently is a unmasking card. We have unmasked Ice Cream. Ice Cream was YouTube's Ninja, which again, Ninja sounded great. Panda, who was unmasked in the last episode, was Layla Ali, which I figured that one out, luckily. Not the first time singing, but the second time around, I could hear it was Layla Ali because, again, I watched Celebrity Apprentice. And then the egg was Johnny Weir, of course, famous figure skater and commentator for the Olympics. So, and then of course the eagle, who has yet to be shown on here, is of course Dr. Drew. Uh, all these people that have been on Mass so far, honestly, really in their own lights could sing really well. But like when you're going up against like people that have like professionally done this, it's hard to compete. So a lot of the common people are probably going to be quickly knocked out because it's hard to compete with people that have probably done this professionally. So yeah, eventually it's either going to get to a point where these professional people are either one, people are going to figure out who they are, and then they'll just be like, oh, okay, well, we figured it out, so um, unmask. We figured it out. So, like, unmask, we know it's you, so go ahead. And, or either that, or it's just going to be like people already know who the person is and they're rooting for that person to win much more so than anybody else because they actually know who it is and what have you. But yeah, it'll be great to see eventually who else gets to like sing or continue to sing or whatever. Um, yeah, because I think we were supposedly having like 16 this season, right? So if anything, I think we should be just down to rematches or not rematches, like we should be down to having people coming back again and re-singing, or correct? I'm assuming because should be like 16 for this season, I believe is what they said. I could be wrong, but yeah. So now we should be down to getting down to knocking one person per episode off, and then eventually getting to the finale. So we've already knocked out 4 people already, so we should have 12 people left. So it should probably be still what? Still assuming it's going to be 4 for episode. So yeah. So probably we'll be getting down to probably eventually having like people coming back and singing along with the whole group or whatever, or maybe people from the first season like donning back their costumes and coming back and singing whatever, just for kind of fun and giggles and whatever to like, hey, second season, whatever, like we're here and like why not? Um, but yeah, it'll be it'll be interesting and fun to eventually get to legitimately know like if I was wrong, if I was right, if I was whatever. Once we get more of these unmasked, but yeah, Ninja has been unmasked as the ice cream. Layla Ali has been unmasked as Panda, and Jerry Weir has been unmasked as the Egg, and Dr. Drew has been unmasked as the Eagle, and pretty much still kind of cemented. I still have at least Ladybug and Rottweiler kind of guaranteed as who I think they are. Um, Tree, I'm kind of almost really confirming, kind of. Flower, it's I'm still kind of 50-50 on the whole Tina Turner. Uh, Patty LaBelle kind of thing. Fox, I'm going with that. Leopard, still a shot in the dark. Skeleton, I don't know. I had 2 guesses. Garrett Morris or Martin Short, and I'm still kind of 50-50 on that. Flamingo, I have no freaking clue. Other than what I said, either Tina or Tamara, the twins. Black Widow, Shot in the Dark, from what I picked for that. Butterfly, I'm still assuming it's Fantasia for some bizarre reason. I think we're gonna have an American Idol season for some bizarre reason. And Thingamajig, like people keep saying it's like Howie Long. It's either Howie Long. I'm thinking Michael Strahan for some bizarre reason. It sounds like a Michael Strahan. I don't know. Like I could be really wrong, and it could just be some basketball player who we might be familiar with, maybe like a LeBron James or somebody else that can sing really well. But I don't know. I'm gonna go with Michael Strahan on this one because I could be really wrong. But yeah, so far so good. There's some of them where I'm trying to re-cement and reaffirm and whatever, but a lot of the other ones is just a shot in the dark for this season. So yeah, once we get to hear these people more, once we get to really finally confirm who they are, then that'll be the end of it. So yeah, anyways, I am gonna call this an episode. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, recapping and spoiling and telling people what I thought and my suggestions, my questions. I'm like, I don't know, not sure, but yeah. So yeah, that was an episode. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.